I should have been on a flight back tomorrow, but I left the exhibition early. It was a bust. Half the vendors dropped out, and the high-end collectors I came to impress didn't give a damn about handmade violins anymore. They wanted AI-enhanced digital strings or some other soulless garbage. So I caught the 1:20 p.m. train from Chicago and spent most of the ride trying to think of a way to turn the night around. Elise had been hinting at that Italian place on Willow and Hyde for weeks. Said it looked like a place in Rome where someone proposes. I never knew if that was supposed to be a suggestion or just commentary. Either way, I made a reservation for 7. The cab dropped me off just past 5. Our brownstone looked the same from the outside. Ivy curling up the bricks, porch light dead, just like always. I hauled my luggage up the 3 steps, thinking Jasper would be scratching at the door the second I put the key in. But he wasn't. No bark. No pause. Nothing. Weird. I unlocked the door and pushed it open slowly. The first thing that hit me was the silence. Elise always left something on. Her Spotify playlists, her podcasts, those dumb ASMR soundscapes she swore helped her focus. But tonight, nothing. No lavender candles either. She always had one burning in the front room. Said it helped make the space breathe. The air didn't breathe. It felt like it was holding its breath. Jazz. I called, stepping in. My voice sounded too loud. No sign of the greyhound. Not on the couch, not on his dog bed. The food and water bowls were empty. Not dry, washed and tucked under the sink. I dropped my bag in the entryway and walked farther in. Something felt wrong in that quiet. Not eerie, just vacant. The bedroom door was wide open. Half the closet was empty. My side looked normal, but Elise's things were gone. Her winter coats, that navy pea coat she loved, her luggage. The makeup tray on the dresser was half cleared. Her satchel, the custom brown leather one with her initials, the one I gave her for our anniversary, was gone. I checked the bathroom. Her hair straightener and perfume were missing. Even her bathrobe was gone from the hook behind the door. I went back to the front room, hoping to find a note. A reason. Something. It was on her music stand. One sheet of paper, torn from one of her composition notebooks. Just 6 sentences, handwritten in blue ink. This life isn't mine anymore. Found someone who sees the real me. Don't contact me. Lawyer will handle things. I need space. I'm sorry. No name. No warmth. No signature. The stand had been left out like it was waiting for me to find it. Like she wanted to make sure the message stood tall, like one of her practice sheets. I stood there for a long time. No tears. No yelling. Just that strange, hollow feeling. Like coming home to a house you didn't know had already been sold. She was gone. Not missing. Not taken. Just gone. And somehow, that was worse. I didn't go to the Italian place. Didn't cancel the reservation either. Just let the clock hit 7 while I sat in the living room with Jasper's leash in my hand, staring at the blank TV screen. Eventually, the restaurant texted me, asking if I was still coming. I turned the phone over and let it buzz. There wasn't much left to do, honestly. I wasn't in shock, not really. Elise had been slipping away in pieces for over a year. This was just the final step. The silence that followed made it official. Around 9, I called my lawyer. Dominic? It's Mason. Yeah? I think I need to come in tomorrow. Elise left. Left the house. Left a note. Said a lawyer would be in touch. He was quiet for a second, then cleared his throat. Understood. Come in around 10. I'll be here. I hung up and stared at my phone for a while longer before dialing Hannah. She picked up after 2 rings. Hey, stranger. It's not a good call, I said. Elise left. Like, gone. There was silence. Then, what do you mean gone? She packed up and vanished. Left a note. Said she's with someone who sees the real her. Said not to contact her. Jesus, Mason. I rubbed my temple. I'm not angry. I don't even know what I am. Hannah let out a breath. I'll come by tomorrow. Want me to bring Jasper a toy or something? Please. After I hung up, I sat with the note in my lap. Thought about how Elise had changed over the past year. How small things had started to add up. It began with Tasha, the celebrity trainer turned mindfulness boss, or whatever title she was going by that month. Elise met her at a recording studio downtown. Tasha was producing some kind of podcast for Creative Alphas and wanted original music. Elise got obsessed. First it was, Tasha says celery juice resets your brain chemistry. Then it was yoga at sunrise on rooftops, kombucha cleanses, expensive leggings that came in little gold embossed boxes. I used to joke that our kitchen turned into a spa menu. I stopped laughing when she dropped $3,000 on a wellness summit in Malibu and called it an investment in herself. I took extra commissions to cover it. Even sold one of my vintage villas to pay for the kitchen remodel she swore would make her cook more. She stopped cooking 3 weeks after it was finished. The house I'd poured myself into became a stage she didn't want to perform on anymore. She started spending weekends in LA for networking events and influencer panels. Said it was career development. She'd come home glowing, tan, full of jargon about alignment and elevated vibrations. Meanwhile, I was scraping glue off fingerboards at 2 in the morning to keep up with rent and bills. Some nights she'd come home and barely say a word. Just scroll through her phone in bed beside me, watching other people's perfect lives while I lay there with the dog curled at my feet, wondering if I was already a ghost in my own home. Now I guess I had the answer. The silence wasn't sudden. It had been growing like mold. Quiet, steady, invisible until it took over. And tonight, it won. Dominic's studio didn't look like a law office. It looked like a forgotten practice room in the basement of an old opera house. Sheet music covered most of the furniture, and there were more bottles of bourbon than law books on the shelves. I'd known him since college. He'd been a conductor before he became a contract lawyer, and his voice still carried that kind of rhythm, like everything he said came in rehearsed beats. He poured me coffee in a mug that said, "Don't sue me, I'm retired," then pulled a yellow legal pad from under a pile of Prokofiev arrangements. "I assume we're not fighting over dog custody," he said gently. "No," I said. "Jasper stays with me. Then let's talk assets. House, accounts, anything joint. Did she leave a forwarding address?" I shook my head. "Just a note." He nodded once. "All right. Start with the house. It's in both your names, yes." "That's what I thought," I said. "We bought it together 5 years ago." Dominic opened a drawer and pulled out a file. I recognized the old manila folder from our closing. He flipped through it, humming to himself, until he stopped, frowned, and set it on the table. "Mason," he said slowly, tapping the paperwork, "this deed only has your name." "What?" "Just you. No joint tenancy, no survivorship clause. You're the sole owner on record." "That's not possible. We split everything. You paid for it." She must have waived her right to be on the title. Probably claimed it was for tax reasons or to keep things simple. I stared at the document, my mouth slightly open. But we were both there. "We signed." "You signed," he corrected. She signed a waive. "See? Right here." He pointed to a short paragraph, one I barely remembered. "Buyer accepts title solely in his name," it read. Dominic leaned back. "You were in love. You trusted her. You didn't question why she'd want her name off the deed." "Because she said it didn't matter," I muttered. "Right," he said. "But it did." I sat back in the creaky wooden chair, my hands cold. Dominic pulled out his laptop and typed something. A few moments later, he turned the screen toward me. It was a property listing. A sleek, glassy condo building on the west side, near the river. One of those buildings with gym access, concierge service, and an air of smugness baked into the walls. "This is in her name," he said. "Technically, in the name of Alara Sound LLC. Guess who the sole manager is?" "Elise." He nodded. "She bought it 18 months ago. No mortgage. Cash purchase." My stomach twisted. Where'd she get the money? Dominic turned his screen again, this time pulling up a spreadsheet of our joint checking account history. He'd highlighted a line of small monthly auto transfers, $380 here, $420 there. All labeled as digital wellness subscription or retreat processing fee. She siphoned a little at a time, he said. Over 24 months, that's over $18,000. Disguised it under things you'd ignore. And I did. He looked at me, expression softening. "She didn't just leave, Mason. She planned it. For a long time." I didn't say anything. I just sat there, letting the facts click into place like the pins of a lock turning one after the other. Elise hadn't walked out on impulse. She'd staged her exit like a heist. And I'd handed her the keys. 2 days later, I was restringing a cello in the back of the workshop when my phone buzzed against the bench. Unknown number. I let it go. A minute later, it rang again. Same number. Then again. After the third try, I silenced it and watched it switch to voicemail. 10 minutes later, I had 4 new messages. I didn't need to listen. I already knew who it was. I clicked play anyway. The first was clipped, polite. "Mason, it's Elise. I think we need to talk. It's about the house." The second had more edge. "We need to be adults about this. Fall market dips fast and we'll miss our window. Call me." The third faster, irritated. "I know you got my messages. Don't be petty. This affects both of us. The fourth started with ragged breathing and ended with a single sentence. You don't get to ice me out like I don't exist. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I forwarded everything to Dominic. He wrote back with 2 words. Radio silence. That night, I was polishing a bow in the kitchen when my phone buzzed again, this time, a number I recognized. Elise's dad, Frank. He never called. Ever. I hesitated, then picked up. Mason, he said immediately, his voice tight. What the hell is going on? I wiped my hands on a cloth. She didn't tell you? She said you've been harassing her during your mutual separation. Said you got controlling, volatile, that you threatened her. I closed my eyes. Of course she did. She left a note. Frank, I said calmly. Not a conversation. Not a separation talk. A one-sided goodbye. Said she found someone new. Told me not to contact her. Lawyer would handle it. He was silent for a second. I found a copy of the condo deed in her old filing box. Her name wasn't even on the house, was it? Nope. She said she paid into it. That you manipulated the paperwork. Check the bank transfers, I said. Over 18 grand moved from our joint account into her shell company. Slow and sneaky. I could hear him shifting, probably pacing. And she said you. Mason, she said you got physical. I exhaled. She lied. He was quiet for a long time. I could hear the clink of ice against a glass in the background. You've always been straight with me, he muttered. I knew something wasn't right. I didn't expect you to believe me, I said honestly. He let out a dry laugh. This isn't the daughter I raised. I didn't know what to say to that. Thank you for telling me, he added. She's spinning something big, and I think she's about to fall right through it. We hung up without much else. I stood there in the quiet, staring at Jasper asleep under the kitchen table. His legs twitched in a dream. It wasn't justice. Not yet. But for the first time, I didn't feel like the crazy one in the story. I felt like the only one who hadn't been lying. She showed up on a Saturday. I just finished adjusting the bridge on a 1930s viola, the kind that made you hold your breath when you touched it, like it might crumble from the weight of time. I was cleaning the pegs with a soft cloth when I heard the knock on the side door. 3 sharp raps. I didn't move. Just waited. Then the knob turned, and Elise walked in. She was dressed like she was on the cover of some magazine that didn't actually exist. Black turtleneck, beige coat, oversized sunglasses perched on her head like a crown. Designer handbag slung on her shoulder, all fake effortlessness and expensive panic. She stood in the doorway like it was still her house. Mason. I didn't look up from the viola. Tried calling. I know. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath since she stepped in. We need to talk. I doubt that. Mason, come on. I set the viola down, wiped my hands, and turned to face her. She blinked, like she wasn't expecting me to look this calm. Like maybe she hoped I'd still be wrecked. I wasn't. I'm here, I said. Talk. She stepped in farther, heels echoing on the concrete floor. We should list the brownstone. The market's still decent. If we wait until October, we'll lose 10, maybe 15%. I nodded once. That would be unfortunate. She tilted her head. I talked to an agent. She said we could list it for $925. We. Yes, she said, slower now. We. I walked over to the counter, picked up a small jar of rosin, and began polishing the bow I'd been working on earlier. It gave me something to do while she unraveled. Elise, I said quietly, you're not on the deed. She blinked. What? The house. The one you're trying to sell? It's legally mine. No, that's not, she paused. That's not how we agreed it would be. But it is how it is. You signed away your claim at closing. Her shoulders stiffened. I did that to protect us. You said it made the taxes easier. I kept my eyes on the bell. And now you want half? I put money into that place. No, you didn't. You took money from it. She opened her mouth. Closed it. 18,000, give or take, I said calmly. Auto transfers. Spread across 28 months. Mostly disguised as wellness charges and retreat registrations. Nice work, by the way. Real subtle. Her voice cracked. Mason. I finally looked at her. Don't lie, I said. The room went still. She swallowed, her voice softer now. Carter said it was temporary. That once the app got funded, he'd pay me back. I was investing in our future. Your future, I said. He's your new soulmate, right? She flinched. Must be tough, I added. Bet he didn't tell you about the unexpected cash flow issues until after you gave up everything that wasn't yours. Her expression cracked, just a little. I just thought, she started. then stopped. I waited. I thought I'd still have something, she whispered. You do? I said, turning back to the viola. You have your condo, your startup boyfriend, your curated life. You're really not going to help me? She asked, barely above a whisper. I did, I said. For 7 years. And you repaid me by staging a clean exit and robbing the register on your way out. I didn't think you'd find out. Yeah, I said. You were counting on that. She stood there for a few more seconds, like she wanted to argue, or cry, or scream. But nothing came. She left without another word. The sound of the door closing was quieter than her voice had been, and somehow it still felt louder than anything she'd said. By Monday morning, I had a spreadsheet open on my laptop and a mug of stale coffee cooling on the workbench. There were no clients scheduled for the day. I blocked it off for what Dominic called asset triage. That's what he does when a marriage ends. Treats it like a collapsed building, walking through the rubble piece by piece to salvage anything still standing. I made a list of everything Elise and I had bought together. Furniture. Appliances. The old upright piano we hauled up the stairs like idiots that first winter. Then I documented everything we hadn't bought together. The condo. The transfers. The so-called business expenses from the joint account. Dominic coached me on the language, income redirection, intentional misrepresentation, and my personal favorite, pattern of financial concealment. We were preparing for war. But Elise didn't know the battle had already shifted. That afternoon, I got a call from Claudia, an old client and fellow luthier who ran a violin school out in Highland Park. She dropped off a cracked cello for repair and stayed long enough to mention something in passing. Did you hear about Carter's company? I looked up from the cello. What about it? Under investigation. Securities fraud or something. One of my adult students is an investor. He said it's a mess. Lawsuits flying in every direction. She left the cello and a bag of cranberry muffins and told me to keep the change. That night, I searched Carter Miles plus Alara Sound. Found a lawsuit filed by 3 investors claiming misrepresentation of assets. A DOJ notice of pending federal review. A Reddit thread where someone claimed Carter vanished mid-project, leaving unpaid developers and bug-riddled beta software behind. The golden future Elise chased was rusting in real time. A week later, Dominic texted me. You were right about the condo. Plumbing issues flagged an inspection last year. Mold too. It's a lemon. Can't even list it without remediation. I stared at the message and took a long sip of coffee. Thursday morning, I got a delivery from a courier service. The envelope had Elise's lawyer's name stamped on it. Inside, formal divorce filings. And a request for spousal support. $3,500 a month. I actually laughed out loud. Jasper looked up from the rug, ears perked. I forwarded it to Dominic. 5 minutes later, he called me, coughing and choking between words. Sorry, he wheezed. I just inhaled my bourbon. Did she seriously ask for support? She did. She thinks the court will side with someone who drained your account to fund a startup boyfriend's fantasy app while secretly buying a toxic condo? I guess so. He coughed again, then muttered, God, I hope she tries to argue it in person. I need a new ring-own. I hung up smiling for the first time in days. Elise had built a fantasy life on bad investments, broken promises, and borrowed confidence. Now it was collapsing. Quietly, spectacularly. And I didn't have to lift a finger. The art fair was in Lincoln Square that weekend, one of those early fall events where people pretend 80-degree heat is sweater weather. I wasn't planning to go, but an old client invited me to see his new string sculptures, and I figured it wouldn't hurt to spend an hour outside the shop. I was admiring a booth of hand-carved bows when I heard someone say my name like it was a question they'd practiced. Mason. I turned. Tasha. Of course. Hair pinned into a messy bun that probably cost $200, sunglasses bigger than her actual face, gold bangles stacked halfway to her elbow. She looked exactly like the influencer archetype she'd spent years manufacturing. I thought that was you, she said, offering a tight-lipped smile. How are you holding up? She didn't care. That much was obvious. This was fishing. I'm fine, I said. She tilted her head. I've been so worried about Elise. Well, this whole thing has been hard for her. You know how fragile she can be. I just looked at her. Oh, and I heard about the real estate stuff. So messy. She leaned in slightly, her voice dropping. But between us, Carter's company is just having a hiccup. These things happen in tech. You've probably seen the headlines. I smiled slowly. I have, I said. Especially the ones about the SEC subpoenas and the class action suit. and the anonymous whistleblower tip that triggered Elise's tax audit. Tasha blinked. Didn't she tell you? I said, still smiling. IRS is looking into the business account tied to her condo purchase. Turns out, wellness consulting doesn't mean much if there's no paperwork to match the income. Her lips parted slightly, like she wanted to deny it but couldn't find the words. You might want to check in on your brand, I added. Elise's name's been floating around in a few threads. Your followers might start asking questions. I walked away before she could recover. By the time I got home that evening, Elise's social media had changed. Her once daily affirmations, smoothie shots, and rooftop selfies were gone. The profile pic was still there, all airbrushed perfection, but the feed had been wiped clean. No more live vibrantly hashtags. No more sponsorships. The influencer circle that once orbited her so closely had gone silent. No more comments from blue-check followers, no more shared links from Carter's app. That night, Dominic texted me. IRS audit confirmed. She's under review. Also, her real estate license? Suspended. I didn't reply. Didn't need to. The world Elise built to impress strangers had finally done what it was designed to do, judge her. And this time, no filter could clean it up. It was late September when I saw her again. I was at the Sunday market, grabbing fresh apples for my apprentice program's welcome dinner. Jasper was tied to the bench by the honey stand, tail wagging at strangers like he didn't remember what she'd done. Or maybe he just didn't care anymore. I turned toward the parking lot, and there she was. Elise. No makeup. Hair in a loose braid. Hoodie 2 sizes too big. Maybe Carter's or maybe just thrifted. She looked like someone trying not to be noticed and failing at it. Mason, she said, her voice catching like she hadn't decided if she should be relieved or ashamed. I didn't answer. Just looked at her. I didn't know if I'd see you here. Clearly, you did, I said, tossing the apples into the canvas tote. She let out a tired breath. Can we talk? I looked at her carefully, noting the dark circles under her eyes, the stiff way she held herself. She wasn't wearing jewelry. Not even her usual charm bracelet. I'll walk you to my truck, I said finally. We walked in silence. Jasper trotted along beside us, completely unfazed. Inside the truck, I let her sit in the passenger seat while I opened the glove box and pulled out a folder. I'd been carrying it for weeks. Just in case. I heard about Carter, I said. And the condo. Her eyes flinched like I'd flicked her. He's gone. Tasha won't answer my calls. My parents. I burned that bridge too. I didn't say anything. I'm staying with someone from the studio. But it's not permanent. She looked at me, eyes wet. I don't want money, Mason. God, I don't even know what I want. Shelter. I said quietly. She swallowed. Maybe. I passed her the folder. She flipped it open, hand shaking, then paused. Inside were photocopies of every withdrawal. The fake invoices. The shell company details. The IRS notices. Dominic's notes in blue ink, crisp and brutal. I'm the one who tipped them off, I said calmly. She looked up, face pale. You committed fraud, Elise. I just made sure someone noticed. She let the folder fall shut in her lap. I messed up. That's generous. Her voice cracked. Mason, I'm sorry. No, I said. You're desperate. She turned away, wiping at her face with the back of her hand. So this is it? You're done with me. I looked at her for a long moment. I'm not sending anything else, I said. As long as you stay gone. She nodded slowly, eyes cast down. Will you ever forgive me? I started the engine. I don't need to, I said. You're not my problem anymore. She didn't argue. Didn't cry. She just stepped out of the truck and closed the door gently behind her. As I pulled out of the lot, I caught one last glimpse of her standing alone by the curb, like a ghost still trying to haunt a place she didn't belong to anymore. The divorce finalized on the first Friday of October. I didn't mark the date on a calendar. Didn't pop a cork or burn old photos. The court clerk emailed Dominic at noon with the words "decree filed," and that was it. Just a digital shrug to close 7 years of marriage. I walked to the corner cafe and got a black coffee, no cream. Sat under the awning while the city moved around me. No weight lifted. No dramatic wave of relief. Just space. And silence that finally felt like it belonged. Back at the brownstone, I stood in Elise's old music studio. It hadn't changed much. Her keyboard was gone, and the framed diploma from the conservatory had vanished with it, but the room still smelled faintly of lavender and cedar oil. I stood there for a minute. Then I opened the windows and let it air out. By November, the walls were painted a soft gray. New shelves lined the north side. I moved in 2 handmade benches, a full-size drafting table, and 3 workstations from a retired violin school downtown. I called it the Apprentice Lounge. Every Tuesday and Thursday, for students, ages 16 to 22, showed up after school to learn woodcraft, bridge setting, peg fitting. I taught them the way I was taught, patiently, with tools that carried stories. The room that once echoed with curated silence now buzzed with honest work and soft arguments over varnish blends. One night, I came downstairs and found Frank, Elise's dad, standing in the entryway holding an old violin case. He looked sheepish. Figured this might need some TLC. The violin inside was cracked near the tailpiece. A cheap model, but well-loved. I found it in the attic, he said. Used to belong to my uncle. Thought you might know someone who'd want it. I nodded. I do. He didn't stay long, just lingered by the door and glanced toward the studio. I heard about what you're doing with the kids, he said. It's good. Real good. Thanks. He patted Jasper on the head, then stepped out into the cold without saying goodbye. Just a quiet nod that carried more than any apology could. By mid-November, the rooftop terrace was my favorite place again. I'd forgotten how peaceful it was without someone trying to brand it for content. That Sunday, I brewed coffee just the way I liked it, too strong, no sugar, and carried it up with Jasper trailing behind. We sat out there, me in my flannel and him curled by my feet. Trees in the neighborhood had started dropping their leaves, soft rustle riding the wind. Someone 2 houses down was playing Coltrane low enough to make you lean into it. I took a sip, leaned back, and looked out over the city. This house, this life, it was mine again. Not curated. Not branded. Not borrowed. Built. Quiet didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned.